I want to show you how you're going to present your homework. Each week you will have homework problems, and each week you must submit those homework problems in Excel. What I've done here is to demonstrate, go to course materials, and for each workshop, this happens to be workshop 1, and everywhere you see the problems and applications, you'll see the Excel template. Left click on that, it'll open, and then say OK, and it will open in Excel. Okay, and it opens showing drawing objects. Okay, here's the key. When you're reading your homework problem, you decide whether or not it is a problem that you answer only using text, or is it a problem that requires you to present a graph. So let's say, for example, we're going to do our first problem, and it happens to be, for example, Chapter 1, Problem 1. And we read the question, and we are required only to answer in text. What we do is left click on text, and now right click on text and say move or copy with the left click. Left click move to end, left click create a copy, left click OK, and we have created a copy of that sheet. We right click on that tab and left click rename and type in Chapter 1, Problem 1. Chapter 1 dash Problem 1. And it is a pure text answer, no graph is needed. So we can highlight that text that's there, because that's not what we need. What we need to do is create our own. So I'm just putting gibberish down here, but what you do is type in your answer to the problem, okay? So that's how you do a text answer. And you just keep building these until you've done all your homework, and then you save the workbook, okay? Now, let's go to problem 2 in my hypothetical example, and it happens to ask for a graph. All right, so now we click left click graph, right click graph, move or copy with the left click move to end, left click create a copy, left click OK, and there is our second page. We're going to right click now and rename this sheet Chapter 1 dash Problem 2. Okay, and now what we have right now is, and this will be presented each time, is a line. We can use that line, or we can delete it and put in some other shape. So let's say that we want to draw the supply-demand curves. That would be my demand line right there. I need to add a upward sloping line, so I left click on this line right here, and when I get the bubbles on each end of that line, I know that it's been selected. I hit Control C and then right click, left click paste. Okay, and I can bring that line there. As long as I get the crossing arrow right there that you see on my cursor, I can move the object. Now up here I'm going to get the straight line with arrows on each end, and that gives me the ability to change the shape. There it is again. I move it over here and I've changed the shape, put it where I want. There it is. I've created a supply and demand curve, right? Now, usually I'd like to show where equilibrium is, so I go to my drawing objects and I select these dashed lines and then say Control C, go back to that graph, right click, paste. Now I'm getting ready to left click. I see my crossing arrows. I can move this object. I'm going to try to get that right in the center there, and I have, but I need to do something to change the length of those dashed lines. So I want to move this one horizontally a little bit and this one vertically. Now I'm looking for the arrow. There we go. Not the crossing arrow, but the regular arrow. There it is. So those dashed lines now go over to what would be the price and the quantity on the demand curve, right? And so then down here in the text, I could write what it is that I've done. I could say that this is the supply curve intersecting the demand curve, and that the dashed lines intersect the price and the quantity at which market equilibrium is established. Okay, so that's what I could type in there if I was doing this problem. All right, now also I want to put labels on this. So I would go to Insert, Shapes, click that very first thing. That's called a text box. And for my text box, I could take it, set it, put it there. This will be Q for quantity. Need to make that a little bigger so I can read it. I'm working on it. There, quantity, and insert shapes. I'll do another one over here, which will be called price. Price. Okay, so that shows my price on the vertical axis, my quantity on the horizontal axis, and I probably want to also identify the supply curve, and we'll use the text box again for that. This is the supply curve, S. Fix that. There we go. That's S. And I'll identify the demand curve, insert shapes, click that text box again, and this is going to be D for demand. Okay, so that's how I would label it. All right, that one didn't show up so good because the text box needs to be made just a little bit bigger. There we go. So now I put in my labels: price, quantity on the horizontal axis, and there is the supply curve. Let's make that a capital. There we go. Feel better about that. All right, so there's how I would do that. Now, if when I do my problem, I find that that curve is not the one that I want to use, then I have to delete everything I've done, or delete the line. Delete every line on here. I'm doing that now so to prepare you for another type of graph. So let's just delete everything that's on here. Except I'll keep the original axes lines. There's one more there I'm getting rid of. Okay, now I've got a clean graph. Well, almost clean. One more here to clean off. Right there. Delete. Okay, now I got the clean graph. Now, maybe what I need to do is something different. Maybe it is a PPF curve. All right, and it looks something like that. So I click on that, Control C, I go back to my drawing, right click, paste. That's what I selected now. I get that crossing arrow, which gives me the ability to move it. So there's the crossing arrow. Now I need the regular arrow like that, double-ended arrow like that, so I can change the shape of it. There's my PPF curve. Now let's put some points on it. Go back here to the drawing objects. Let's pick that one there. Control C. Back to my graph. Well, let's paste that somewhere. There we are. Now there it is. I go click somewhere else so I can get the bubbles off. And I can move that where I want. There it is. It's on the curve. If I right click and paste again, I get another one because I've already selected it previously. Now I can take that one and move it where I want. Let's say I put it here. Okay. And let me go to one more. Let's go back to the drawing objects and I'll pick a red one. Okay. Control C. Back to my graph. Left clicking. Now right clicking. Paste. Okay. And there it is. Now I could also do my labels, and down in here I type up my text, and it would be different because I would be describing this point here as an inefficient point. These points would be efficient because they're on the production possibilities frontier. Okay, so that's an example of how you're going to do your homework. The last thing you would do is go to File, Save As, and save it with a name, Workshop 1. Here's the way I like to do it. HW stands for homework, 1 stands for workshop 1. Okay, so that I hope will help you, and if you have any questions, of course, you can come on the forum and we can talk about it. Okay, thank you very much.